Oh, boys! Bad news. I've got the numbers back.
What numbers?
There haven't been nearly enough sports games covered.
Like EA Sports?
People love sports. The thrill of competition. The tension of a close game. It's a surefire winner.
Like it's in the game sports?
Oh, son of a bitch, I just lost the game.
Like football sports and basketball sports.
Baseball sports.
Football sports. Soccer sports.
Tennis sports.
Fishing sports?
Shrimping sports.
Sports gumbo.
What?
Deep fried sports.
Sports scampi.
Sports. We get it. Sports games. All the sports games.
All of them.
Yay, sports ball. Let's score some touch points.
Hello, and welcome to the Retro Odyssey. I'm your host, Ryan, joined by my hosts, Steven and Matt.
Hello.
Hi.
And despite what everyone may have been saying, we have returned again, and we're going to keep on doing it.
Again?
Again. I'm going to keep doing it again next month. But besides that, besides the rumors that I've manufactured that we were done, how y'all been doing?
Well, I've just been working as usual. Nothing much to do at the minute. Can't really go anywhere. Well, I can, but I don't want to, particularly.
Well, they haven't lifted like your restrictions over there much, have they?
Well, shops have started to open, but people are kind of like going stupid. Cases are going back up. It's like I'm just going to stay home.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened over here in the
Oh,
stateside.
no, that is not what happened over here.
Well, wait, with people went stupid, they opened up and people went stupid?
No. Like, people went stupid, they went even more stupid, and then they opened up, and cases never stopped rising.
Yeah, what they paused for a moment and then just right back up? Yeah, it's a little ridiculous. I know Texas just had a massive spike in cases, and it was a real sad time. I think the headline I read was like one of the largest Texas hospitals has just packed out its ICU.
Yeah.
It's like, oof, that's hard to read.
Well, and like it's terrible because like here in North Carolina, our governor has actually been, like, he's actually been on the side of the science with all this. So he's been saying the state's not ready to reopen. You know, he mandated mask usage statewide. You know, he's doing everything right here, and he's probably not going to get reelected because of it.
I know, it's ridiculous. There was a mayor of some city here in Oklahoma, and he mandated masks, and people just about rioted over it, and he repealed the mandate.
Oh, yeah, because Oklahoma's even more red than we are.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing, I would say. Not necessarily the political stance, but rather just the stupidity.
Yeah.
That's kind of similar over here. Like, no one in the supermarkets is wearing masks.
Oh my God.
They're provided to all the staff. There's like 3 of us who wear them. Half of the customers don't. So yeah.
Oh, that's wild. See, here, Walmart has mandated some sort of mask wearing, some sort of facial covering, whether it be like a face shield or a mask or a bandana, something.
Yeah.
You have to wear something as an employee.
So has Costco. Well, Costco's mandated it for everybody.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, like you can't walk into the store without a mask. They will hand you a mask if you don't have one on.
Oh, crazy.
And then there was a couple of places yesterday that I was delivering for that said you had to have a mask to go in, and I was actually pleased to see that.
Yeah, I mean, the masks suck, especially if you're in a hotter climate, but, like, I think it's kind of worth it, maybe? Just maybe.
Yeah.
I know they're not, like, the most effective thing in the world, but, I mean, it's literally better than nothing.
Yeah.
And substantially better than nothing. So, anyway, I don't understand why people are having such a problem with this. Like, it's like, I have to get out there. I have to get out and be around people. It's like, come on. We have the world at our fingertips with internet, all the movies you could ever want, and more importantly, all the video games you could ever want, plus the capacity to socialize with people.
Yeah, I'm
through video games over the internet.
Yeah, I've been out and about in this the whole time just because of what I've had to do to pay my bills. And I'm like, do you know what I would give to be able to just stay home all day?
Yeah, right.
But although that is changing because I got a job.
Nice.
So I'll have a full-time job next week.
Awesome.
So my financial situation will be a little less dire.
Cool, nice one. And I knew you were going for interviews and that.
Yeah.
Now you can dump all of your extra revenue on video games.
Yeah, probably. Honestly, I'm probably going to be saving up most of my extra for Xbox at the end of the year.
See, I was talking about that because that's impending. Me and my brother were talking yesterday because I have all of my Xboxes save my original Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
They're all Gears of War themed. I have all the Gears of War editions, and the new one, like the Series X, isn't. There's nothing about a Gears game launching any time around launch.
Mm-hmm.
And the window in which Gears usually releases is 2 to 3 years. So we probably won't get a Gears game until 2021 or 2022, and it would be the end of 2021 or 22.
Yeah.
And I know there will be an Xbox or a Gears Edition Xbox Series X, and I'm not going to buy one just to buy another one. So I'm not really like raring to go. Plus, it'll hopefully get a little cheaper by the time I'm ready to buy.
Yeah, I never tend to buy them on launch, personally. I'll wait a couple of years and then get them.
I mean, honestly, the only reason I'm even considering getting it at launch is because I desperately wanted the Xbox One X and just could not get a hold of one. And I'm at the point where it's like, okay, now I can just upgrade directly to the next one.
Oh, so yeah, that's worth it.
Yeah, because I mean, I still have the Xbox One S, so it'll be a bit more of a jump for me. I get to actually get some 4K out of this 4K TV.
Right. See, when I got a 1X, it was the Gears 5 one, and that was just last year.
Mm-hmm. So
I think I picked it up. What Gears launches in like October usually. I think I picked it up early November. It was pretty new. It was only out a couple weeks when I picked it up, and it's super duper sexy.
Mm-hmm.
They all are. So yeah. Anyway, I'm waiting on that. I know we're gonna get a Gears game, and I would put solid money down that we're gonna get a Gears edition, and that's what I want.
Oh, I'm sure.
I want it real bad. I feel like we got derailed there, talking about consoles. What have you been playing on your consoles? Still more Final Fantasy? I know that you got into Final Fantasy 14. I don't even know why I asked Matt what he's been playing anymore. It's always Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, it is. Done a bit more Final Fantasy 1. Not had too much time to go into it, but I'm about to dip into like the second major dungeon The one after the March Cave, the March Cave, the Terror Cave, I think it's called.
Something like that.
So yeah, that is what I'm doing next. I've also been playing a lot of Binding of Isaac. I've kind of like found a new obsession because I was listening to Jim Sterling's podcast, Podquisition, the other day, and Laura Dale said that she had been doing a lot of Lilith runs on Greed mode. And I thought, actually, yeah, that I've never really done that, and that sounds like a good idea. And you can just create this wall of death with Lilith.
It's amazing
because you've got your main spacebar item is one that doubles your familiars each time you press it, and yeah, you can really kind of like build up some powerful walls of bullets in that. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of runs on that. Oh, and I've just bought the PC port of Chrono Trigger, which is currently on sale for $5.99, I think it was.
Oh, nice.
Because the PC port was terrible when it came out, but from what I've heard, it's very, very much improved at this point.
Yeah, let us know if it's actually worth looking at.
Yeah, I will do. I mean, I've literally bought it like 10 minutes before we started recording. Oh. So I've just looked at the intro movie and that's it so far.
Yeah, see, I don't know what it was. I'm pretty sure that Chrono Trigger on the SNES had an extra chip in it. A lot of Super Nintendo games had bonus chips for whatever they needed on the carts. And that's why emulating SNES games can get a little wonky sometimes, because there has to be drivers installed to accommodate for that. So if that driver and patches, if those drivers and patches don't exist in the emulator, and then you load a game that doesn't work, you'll sometimes get performance issues, or some games just flat out won't work. Like, I patched Chrono Trigger using Hack-Chi onto my SNES Mini, and it has a couple slowdowns, and people have reported basically the game freezing every once in a while. Like, there's not a trigger for it. It just sometimes it'll just freeze.
My Pi does like huge slowdown in the game. Like, it wasn't too bad at the start, but the further I got, it kind of like did it quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned when we did Chrono Trigger, like, I had some issues with like how the game played as it was, but I did mention that if it wasn't for the technical issues I was having, then I would persevere with it just to kind of like see how it gets like later on. So now I've got a version that hopefully won't have those performance issues. I can get more into it and see if I can get over like the gameplay issues that I was having.
I am now the resident not a JRPG guy, but I like Chrono Trigger. So that should, either that means it does things that nobody likes, or it speaks volumes to how good it is.
Yeah.
Best opening music of a JRPG.
Yeah, it's up there. I don't really have much to say to that, and, unless we want to get off on another tangent. But
yeah, if we want to go talk about this for a year and a half.
Yeah, but as for me, I was playing Final Fantasy 14. My game time has run out though, so I had to stop for a bit. But I got into Destiny 2 because a friend of mine has been playing and was looking for people to play with, and I was like, you know what, I never did get on Destiny 2, even though I liked the original so much. So I hopped on and have been working through the content, trying to get to the point where I can actually play with people because everyone else is so far ahead of me.
Yeah, and that's free to play, isn't it?
The base game is free to play, and then there's the 2 expansions, and then the third one coming out.
I sort of got burnt out on Destiny 2. It just, I don't know. I liked it at first because mechanically the game is wonderful. It feels so solid. Like, probably the best feeling game that Bungie's ever produced.
And they fixed a lot of their storytelling issues from the first one.
And they did, but the game is just such a grind to me. Like, early Destiny level just weird grind. I just kind of got sick of it. I sunk a lot of time into the game, so I got my money out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I will say the feature that's included that is my absolute favorite is the cross-save feature.
Yeah, because they didn't do that with the first Destiny.
Yeah. So, my friend that was looking for people to play was on PC, and I'm like, well, I have it on Xbox. And my brother actually bought all the PC content for me, so I've been able to switch back and forth.
Nice.
Final Fantasy 14 works the same way with PS4.
So you're
Really?
smart.
It's all cross-play.
Okay.
You have to have all of the content for both versions if you want to go into like the same areas and that.
Right. See, 14 is full-on cross-play. Destiny is not cross-play, it's cross-save. So I can take the characters and jump back and forth between them, but I can't interact across consoles.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because, in 14 you can literally play with people on console, like on PC, and it's all like one big player base.
Yeah, because I've done that. I've met up with one of my friends in game, and he plays on PC. But it's similar to Final Fantasy 14's limitations on the data centers. Destiny's cross save is not as good as it's not optimal, but it's still way better than most games would do. Bungie is really even though they've done time in the Microsoft and Activision slave pits, they're still really good company. They still know how to make good games.
The Activision salt mines.
Yeah, basically. And then they just told Activision to go fuck themselves, and we're taking our game with us. I love it.
Oh, is that why Destiny 2 is now on Steam rather than the Blizzard launcher?
Yes. Because Bungie did their signature move and broke free of their major publisher, and this time they just started publishing their own stuff. So they put it on Steam. They scaled back some of the nonsense. Although one of the side effects of it is they have stopped doing physical releases. Everything's been digital since they split.
I mean, it's the future anyway.
Yeah, which you can have my physical copies when you pry them from my cold dead fingers. But
right.
So what I've done is I actually bought the Destiny 2 Steelbook. I just found one on eBay, and I bought that so that I have a Destiny case that doesn't have Activision on it.
That's great.
So is it literally just like an empty case?
Oh no, it's got the game in it.
Oh.
Yeah, because I had a physical copy of the game. I just hadn't gotten around to playing it yet. And then I bought the Steelbook, and the Steelbook actually came with a copy. So now I've got a nice physical copy on my shelf that doesn't have the word Activision on it, which is great.
That'll show them. See, I haven't gotten into any grand games. I did go back and 100% Link's Awakening.
Nice.
I tell you what, there's a lot of pick-upables.
Oh, yeah.
And some of those seashells are not obvious.
Yeah, it's not as bad as Breath of the Wild for that, but,
Oh, I mean, yeah, but I think Breath of the Wild took the Collectathon idea and just cranked it to 100. How many Korok seeds are there?
900.
Yeah, see.
But, more than half of those don't do anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same thing in Mario Odyssey. Yeah, you can get 999 moons, but really after like 600 moons or something like that, you're just cranking numbers up. There's nothing else for it.
Yeah, so it's, Breath of the Wild cranked it up to 11 and then started mocking it.
Yeah. Also, I got my copy of Wonderful 101 Remastered.
Oh, nice.
And it's a great game. It suffers from the problem. See, the original game was on the Wii U, and you would draw your attacks out on the tablet. So you want a sword, you would draw your line for the sword. You wanted your fist, you do a circle. There were different shapes that you would do, and just you running your lines around to pick up, make your little wonderful deputies to help you fight. Like, it was very quick and it was sense make. Or, if you wanted to, you could use the right stick to draw around and draw your shapes. Except that's terrible because at that point, you're trying to draw with an analog stick. And, like, some shapes come naturally and other ones absolutely do not. Especially when it's like, oh, if you draw a circle, you get a fist. If you draw a really, really big circle and use up all of your heroes, you get a really big, strong fist. So if you do, so it gets really awkward to draw bigger shapes on the screen using the analog stick. Well, the Switch doesn't support touchscreen. I can't figure out how it supports touchscreen in any way other than bringing up your gamepad radar and then moving the radar around screen. So you can't draw, so everything has to be drawn with the right stick, and that makes the game sort of like Combat Etch-a-Sketch.
Right.
And it's still fun, but trying to draw some shapes out in the middle of battle can be a little frustrating when it shouldn't be. It's like, and I've been playing it in handheld mode. I get it if you have it docked, you can't draw shapes because you just have the Wiimotes in your hand. Wiimotes, Joy-Cons, there we go. So I get that, but it's like, if you have it in handhold, just let me touch the screen and draw a circle.
Yeah.
Like, it's there, you understand it's there. Like, you can't even use the touch screen to navigate menus. It's like, these are just little things. But the game is good. It looks good, and it's super goofy, and, I mean, it's the same team. It's a lot of the same people who were behind Beautiful Joe.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Platinum, so...
Yeah, it's Platinum. And the other nod-off is the specific team that did Beautiful Joe was Team Beautiful. Well, the specific team that did The Wonderful 101 was Team Wonderful. And I think they're just bad at naming their teams.
Yeah.
Or they're really good at it, and I can't tell the difference.
Well, I mean, the Silent Hill guys were called Team Silent.
I mean, Sonic Team.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Nintendo had names like R&D1, so...
Yeah, but at least that sounds high-tech. R&D1, like, oh... they're coming up with stuff. Of course, then also the first time you ever probably heard that, you were, I bet, 10.
Nope.
Nope, really?
First time I'd ever heard of R&D1, the development team, was this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, you know, just because I did that deep dive on Metroid and you know, started finding out about it. So I didn't actually hear that name until this year.
Like, I was familiar with it. I think it's probably because Ben got Nintendo powers my brother Ben got Nintendo powers for a long time.
Yeah, see, I've never seen an actual... Well, okay, so I have the original Final Fantasy strategy guide back when those were actual Nintendo powers.
Yeah,
but,
when they were the good ones.
Yeah, but other than that, I've never seen the actual magazine.
Oh, it used to be super duper good, and then it got kind of weird because they tried to clean it up to look like a professional game magazine, and it got bad, and then they were like, this isn't popular anymore, so they just killed it. And it's like, well, yeah, one, the internet is up and coming, but also, two, you changed the magazine that everybody loved.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I've been really playing. Oh, I did play I know it's on Xbox early release, for those who like roguelites. It's a game called West of Dead. It's like I don't want to say it's Diablo-like, because it's not, but it is kind of that Diablo angle, is all I can say. It's sort of that semi-isometric. Sometimes the camera will move a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But you're basically a cowboy man in purgatory, and you have to dungeon crawl. And it's very similar to Dead Cells in its progression feel, except it's a 3D map. Well, 3D isometric map, and it's actually a lot of fun. It's a glitchy mess right now because it's still an early release, but it is on Game Pass.
It's got a very interesting graphical style.
It is. It's pretty good. Like, there's problems that they're still sorting out because it's not it's not on, proper release. But yeah, if you have an opportunity to play it, I'd give it a shot. It's neat. I probably won't play any more until they're like, yeah, it's done. This is version 1. But after that, I'll probably sink some time into it. Anyway, we were talking about crossplay a little bit earlier, and that brings up a very interesting news topic, and I think it's like the only one that we have this month, and that would be the Crystal Chronicles remake. And I think you pulled up the article, Stephen.
Yes, I've just got the Square Enix page for it.
This is actually decently big news.
Yeah. So the remastered version of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is going to be released on Nintendo Switch, PS4, Apple Games, and Android. And it'll have full crossplay across all 4 platforms. Save data transfer between platforms, so it's crossplay and cross-save. And there's also a light version that'll be coming out. It's basically a demo version that you can get the first 3 dungeons of the game, and if you have friends who have the light version, you can play the first 3 dungeons together. Or if you have a friend who has purchased the full game, you can actually play with them for it says up to 13 dungeons for free. I'm not seeing if that functionality will work online. I'm not seeing anything that says it won't.
I mean, I would assume that that's a given.
Yeah.
In this day and age, to be honest.
Yeah, the only thing it brings up is that PS Plus and Nintendo Switch Online are required to play online for those systems. But yeah, I mean, that's to me that's huge, because number one, you're bringing back 3DS download play effectively, and you're making the Final Fantasy game that you really can't play alone. You're making it that much easier to play with somebody.
Exactly, and that's what's super wacky, because it's not even just like, oh yeah, we're making it like oh, you want to play Crystal Chronicles on the GameCube with your friend? Well, I hope you have the game, and I hope that they have a Game Boy Advance and a GameCube adapter cable, so they can play with you. And it's like, okay, that's an interesting concept, but it's actually not super easy to play that game. I'm not entirely sure why they didn't just plug in more controllers. I know, like, information was displayed on the Game Boy Advance, but it's still like, this wasn't the best idea anybody's ever had.
Yeah, I think that and Four Swords Adventures was them trying to get more out of that cable. Which,
yeah.
I mean, I own 4 or 5 of those cables purely because of these games, but because, like, you know, I'm a massive fan of both Zelda and Final Fantasy, and I wanted to enjoy them. But, like, nobody else is going to have, you know, an abundant supply of those cables to be able to play these.
Exactly, especially now.
Yeah, especially now. Like, I'm
not even sure if you can buy cables now. I'm sure somebody makes them, but I bet they're pretty janky.
Oh yeah, well, so basically, if you're buying cables now, you're just buying them off eBay or used or whatever.
Yeah,
like
I don't know who makes new ones.
Yeah, I don't think anyone makes new ones.
Probably not. Which is weird because, like, yeah, there's a market for it, a small market, but how expensive can it be to produce a handful of these cables and just have them on deck, ready to sell? So, you'd sell more of them if it was like, hey, look, we make brand new cables. And then you just go to, like, video game conventions and you have some in stock there. You could easily move them there from your booth.
Absolutely.
You don't need to get into, like, massive retail, have an online store where orders can be put in, and then just hit up various game cons.
Yeah, that would work.
Maybe I need to get into the business of making cables. Anyway, but then on this flip side, it's like, okay, so while playing multiplayer on Crystal Chronicles wasn't the easiest thing in the world, not only did they make it easier with an application, but they made it excessively easier by doing crossplay on Android and iOS devices.
Yeah.
So you could download that, and not to quote Blizzard, but you have a phone, right?
Yeah.
So, like, even people are like, oh, I don't have a Switch, or I didn't bring my Switch, or this, that, the other. I came over to this, like, oh, just pull out your phone and download the demo.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the best experience, I'm sure, because controls on a touchscreen are always not the greatest, but it's probably still work pretty well.
Yeah, and I mean, I can tell you, like, in my group, I have a PS4 and a Switch. My two best friends both have Switches. They could bring their Switches over, and if we've got a fourth person here, I have two systems that can connect to it. Boom, we've got,
Yeah, you have the game. Yeah, no, it's super excellent. It's brilliant, and I know that Square Enix doesn't have like the most perfect track record. Like they're not bad, but they're not. They also kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to be releasing Final Fantasy 7 in 2 parts. It's like, but why? But then they spin around and then they pull this, where it's like, yeah, we're going to release a game, a cult classic, and we're going to make it great for everybody. It's like, holy shit, bravo, guys.
Yeah. Now that I know what they're doing with Final Fantasy 7, I'm less I'm less upset about the multiple parts thing, because I now understand what they were trying to accomplish with it in the first place. But they've been getting better. Like,
yeah.
I think Final Fantasy 14 was where some of that started. Was, let's redo this, make it better, and all they've done since is build on that, and that game is now, fucking incredible. And then, we saw their more recent releases start getting better and start having more of these features that people want. And it's like I'm not as nervous about Square as I was. Especially because, like, we got the collection of mana. They finally gave us Trials of Mana after years of begging. So,
and as far as I can tell, not that I play a lot of Square games, but they don't pack them out with microtransactions and shit.
Yeah,
I'm sure Final Fantasy 14 has some because it's an MMO, but
it has a lot, but it's mostly cosmetic.
Yeah, it's just cosmetics.
But
I mean, it's not just cosmetics. There are a couple of things that help you kind of like skip a bunch of the leveling stuff. But
that's a specifically MMO thing. That's something you're not gonna. Well, okay. The ones in 14 are the specific MMO. Hey, here's your pass to jump a character to current max level, so you can play new content. But I mean, like, I've shelled out for some of the stuff because you're gonna tell me I can have Lightning's outfit? Hell yeah.
Yeah, the only microtransaction that I kind of like get from the game is you can buy a couple extra retainers. Now, retainers are kind of like NPCs that you can call up, and they've got like their own inventory, and they can put stuff on the market board, sell stuff for you. That's how you sell and buy. That's how you sell stuff in the game. You use a retainer, you give the item to your retainer, they put it up on the market board. And I do pay for 2 extra retainers, which I think is like $1.99 a month. So it's not like that expensive, but it gives you like an extra 175 inventory spaces, unless you put up an extra 20 items on the market board.
They're mules. You're buying mules.
Yeah, and apart from the retainers and the skip potions, everything else is cosmetic and mounts and furniture items, stuff like that.
Yeah, see, and like it's and again, I would expect something like that out of an MMO. It's not a new concept. But like I don't think they're packing microtransactions into Final Fantasy 15. I'll be a little irritated if it turns out that Crystal Chronicles, because I know there's a lot of like farming for items and materials in Crystal Chronicles. Like there's just stuff you need. And it's like, oh, you can, if they pull a hardcore mobile and just be like, oh, by the way, you can buy 100 Smurf berries for $5.99.
Yeah.
I don't think they would, because I mean, Square has their mobile games, and
Yeah.
they've got that revenue stream elsewhere.
Yeah.
They have established themselves as a company that do listen to like their fans. Like I was talking about buying Chrono Trigger just a little while ago.
Yep.
So many people complained about that port. They went in and like did all they can to fix it.
Mm.
Yeah, they've definitely come up or back up, because I know they were like the king of kings for a second
Yep.
in the video game realm, and then sort of slipped a few places here and there, and now they're coming back, which is great, because they do make quality product, and I'm happy that, and I'm really happy that Crystal Chronicles is coming around. Maybe the big release of Crystal Chronicles was them listening to fans as well, because it's not like the game is actually super popular. It's much more of a cult classic.
Yeah.
Probably due to the whole wonky multiplayer system that was implemented on the GameCube.
Mm-hmm. And that same system making it so hard to play single player. Like, just give me an NPC to carry the bucket.
Yeah, and also please tone down the difficulty a little bit when it's just me.
That's why I play Resident Evil 5 on easy. Because Shiva is an idiot. When she's not being controlled by another person.
Right.
But yeah, that's a whole other rabbit hole. There is actually one more piece of news, kind of retro related, I guess. It's more of a speedrunning thing. We talked last month about the new SpongeBob game, which has just come out, the Battle for Bikini Bottom rehydrated version, which is a remaster of PS2 game, and the original game has a speedrunning world record of about 45 minutes to get through the whole thing. This new version currently has a speedrunning record of 2.5 minutes.
The game just dropped like 2 days ago at the time of recording?
Yep. Someone discovered a glitch in the menu that lets you warp straight to the final level. You don't even have to leave the house. You don't even get the intro cutscene that takes place when you leave SpongeBob's house. You just go into the menu. You can do this trickery. You need to have like 2 controllers plugged in, because you've got to press A twice on the same frame. And if you've got like 2 controllers, well, I think it's like a controller and a keyboard that you've got to use, or something like that. And you can do that in the menu, and it will usually not allow you to warp to areas that you haven't been. But by doing this, you can like trick the game into warping you to those areas, so you can warp directly to the final boss. So you can beat the game in 2.5 minutes. You get the final boss cutscene, and after the final boss cutscene, you get the intro cutscene. So 2.5 minutes is currently the speed world record on that.
That is amazing. I need to pick that game up too.
Yeah, it looks pretty solid.
That was sort of a, I don't know if I'd call it a sleeper hit, but it was definitely a horribly underrated game. Like, yeah, it's one of those games where people are like, oh, blah, 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 let's make a meme out of this and talk about how good Battle for Bikini Bottom was. But actually, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's all the news. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of news topics because, I mean, we did only record like 3 weeks ago. But we've not got a huge amount of game releases as well for July. I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming out, but retro-related, not a hell of a lot. There's kind of just 2. You've got a new Paper Mario game, which is kind of retro-related, kind of.
Maybe, yeah.
Paper Mario, the Origami King, is coming out on July 17th.
And it's looking like it's not going to be like a traditional Paper Mario game. Like, it's not going to be the standard RPG style that Paper Mario has established. It's going to be a little different.
I've never played like any of them.
Oh, Paper Mario is excellent. I highly recommend playing it sometime. We should get it on the list. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see. What's the other one?
The other one is a remake of Destroy All Humans.
Oh yeah,
I forgot that was coming out.
So did I. That's a great game.
Out on July 28th.
Yeah, Destroy All Humans was a blast.
I have it on PS2. I've never played it.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun.
that's coming out for PC, PS4, and Xbox. Not sure why they wouldn't put that on the Switch, but
It is far too graphically intense for something as underpowered as the Nintendo Switch. I don't know. They probably just didn't want to port to it. I don't see why not. Seems like a shame to me. The major list for games that released of yesteryear are also, it's not a very big list. It's actually quite a short list. Dr. Mario turned 30, or will turn 30 on the 27th.
nice. When I used to have an NES, that game never came out of it.
Yeah, no, it's probably one of my favorite puzzle-style games, Tetris-style puzzle games.
Yeah, I love it.
Mario Tennis on the N64 turned 20.
Hell yeah. We got to cover that one at some point.
Yeah, that was a really solid game. And relevant, too. Castlevania Dracula X turned 25.
That's is that Rondo of Blood?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Virtua Tennis, we were talking about the Dreamcast very briefly a little bit ago. Virtua Tennis turned 20. Well, I think we were actually talking about the Dreamcast before we started firing up recording. But yeah. Final Fantasy, number 1 on the NES, turned 30, or turns 30 on the 12th.
Cool.
And also, Final Fantasy 9 turns 20 on the 7th.
Cool. I'll get to that one day. That is most people's favorite, I think.
What, Final Fantasy 9?
Yeah.
Well, okay, like, you say most people, like, it's most people that aren't the ones that only know 7.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, right. And then the biggest announcement in Japan on July 1st, the Virtual Boy released. It is 25 years old.
And not a fuck was given.
I would say we need to cover that, but no.
No.
I was gonna say, and it revolutionized the gaming industry, but I couldn't keep a straight face.
Tell you what, it created a ton of business for pain relievers.
And probably therapists for anger management too.
Yep.
What's wrong? What seems to be the problem? I don't know, Doc. All I see is red. All right. Well, if that ties that up, I think it's time that we take a quick break and move on to our topic of the day, which, if by the skit it wasn't too obvious, is rapid fire sports. Okay, so obviously with this COVID pandemic, and honestly should be staying inside, or at least not getting too social right now. I said earlier, you should plenty of video games to play, but one of the things that's really been impacted, at least over here in the U.S., I'm sure it's been impacted over anywhere that has sports, is sports. Sports are a big social thing. There's lots of interaction with the players. There's lots of interaction with the fans in the giant, big old stadiums. And, I think basketball is still out. Baseball is still out. I think they're trying to bring football back over here. I don't know how they're doing about football over there in the UK or anywhere else that has it.
Some matches have actually started back up.
See, American football is already in the off season right now, but the training camps are supposed to be starting up soon.
Yeah,
and that's what the big concern is.
Yeah,
pro wrestling has been doing empty arenas for a while, but WWE just had a massive outbreak of COVID, so I don't know what's going to happen there.
Whoops. Anyway, since we can't get our fill of sports, turns out that if you own a Nintendo Switch and have Nintendo Switch Online, you have access to some sports for the low price of $20 a year. And I think we should probably going to pop through this, which is why I said rapid fire, because this might be the most games we've ever covered in a single episode.
Yeah, we played literally all of the games on
Literally
the NES and SNES online.
all of the sports games. I don't know if we should Rochambeau for the one we want to talk about, or if we should just start at the top of the list. Let's just run down the list, and this is the NES Online Volleyball. Holy shit.
Garbage.
Why is it so hard?
You really can't see where the ball's going to go. I mean, there is a shadow to it, but you can't move that fast.
No, you absolutely cannot move that fast. And it's super duper tight, like insanely tight control. So you have to be right on that. And you, like, if you want to hop and spike, it took me a minute to figure out, but you can jump and spike the ball, and you have to be right on top of it. There is not an open window for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be super accurate. Like the most amount of volleys I was able to do is like 2 before I just kind of like lost it and didn't hit it.
Like, I do appreciate that. Also, I haven't watched enough volleyball, but I'm pretty sure that in volleyball there's not 6 people on each side. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think there is like quite a few people in a volleyball team.
I thought it was like upwards of 4, maybe. I don't know. I don't watch volleyball, but that it felt like a lot. It felt like a lot of people. But it's kind of nice that, like, when the ball's coming down, and not that it helps you a whole lot. I guess it helps you better than not. But, like, your players, they move in groups. And they'll highlight where the ball is closest going to land to, so it gives you control over them. So if it's going to land closer to the net, it'll give you the 3 people who are right up on the net and give you control over them. And, it spaces it out. And I appreciated that, but it didn't make my life any easier because that wasn't my problem with the game.
I think if it was slowed down a bit, it would be fine.
And I think if there was a little bit more forgiveness on hitting the ball,
Yeah.
that would actually that would very quickly turn into a genuinely good NES sports title. That's the problem, because it is fast. It goes really, really fast. And you just don't actually know exactly where that ball's going to hit until it's too late. Also, the thing I appreciated about it, you can pick between men and women's teams. I don't think it really changes anything.
Yeah, it doesn't really change anything. Both the male and the female players do shake their ass weirdly in the same way.
Well, I mean, what else do you do when you play volleyball?
They are all, like, all the players in the game are literally just kind of like hunched over, shaking their asses for like the entire game.
Yeah, that's where twerking was invented. Invented in NES volleyball.
It's probably not what they intended that animation to be, but it's what it looks like.
Yeah, I think it might have supposed to have been like the whole hunched over, ready to, kind of stepping back and forth, but obviously there's not a whole lot of that. But yeah, there's a lot of ass shaking there. I did find it funny that when you pause the game, it doesn't pause and leave everybody. Like, everybody stops what they're doing and they line up.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I didn't pause it.
Yeah, when you pause, everybody stops and they kind of form up and face the camera and face the screen. And I'm not sure why, but it also came off to me as sort of like, what the fuck are you doing? We're playing a game. Anyway, that was my internal monologue. How mad did you get, Steven?
There's a whole bunch of these, and this is one of them where just nothing was happening. Like,
it took me right about the time I stopped playing it, because I didn't put a whole lot of time into it. Right about the time I was just like, it was just starting to click as far as like the timing and the positioning. It was getting a little bit better, but I was just like, I'm not going to go and spend 30 minutes playing this game to get the basics down and become, quote unquote, good at it. I might give it a shot later with my friend. He wants to come over and play a whole bunch of Switch Online games, so I might pull that one up and see if at least us being angry together will be better.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine playing that one actually online. Like, that would be a bad time.
Yeah.
Whilst moving a group of players is an interesting way of doing it, as opposed to a lot of these sports games, which we're going to talk about later, where you're moving generally the person closest to the ball, is you don't know which group you're going to be moving until the ball has been hit.
Yeah.
And you just need that kind of like split second reaction time. if you think it's going to go long and you think you're controlling the far group of people and you actually end up controlling the closer group of people, then you're just going to miss.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that would have been fixed if the game was just slowed down a tiny bit.
Yeah, probably about the same pace as the tennis games.
Yeah, well, except for Super Tennis when we get to that one. Oh, my God.
Super Tennis is super fast. God, yeah, but...
Yeah. So, yeah, NES Volleyball. I give it 2 out of 10 volleyballs.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Yeah, it's crap.
Maybe 2.5. I'll play it a little bit more at some other point, and maybe I'll rescore it. But yeah, 2 out of 10 volleyballs. It's a rough game. I mean, and it was like 1986, 87.
Yeah, I mean,
like, come on, they knew what they were doing, at least a little bit. They knew that they were making a really hard game, at least versus the computer, because the computer is like really on top of that shit. Unlike soccer, NES Soccer is the slowest, most miserable soccer game I've ever played.
Yeah, it's not good.
It is so clunky. There isn't a run function. You can kick. Once you're what the hell do they call it? It's when you're handling the ball. Help me out here. What do they call
dribbling?
that? Did they call it dribbling in soccer?
I don't know.
No, just running with the ball.
Oh, I thought I'd have to ask my friend. He's all into FIFA. It's like you have a little bit of control over it once you're on top of it, but also not really a lot of control. Like, I noticed you can kind of turn around with the ball sometimes, or sometimes you'll just push it off the field. But I noticed that when you start getting close for getting ready to make a goal, point, unit, basket, slam dunk, the computer just tends to stop moving.
Yeah.
Like, I was terrible at it, and I still beat them 8-1 because they wouldn't defend their goal.
I couldn't do anything with it. I mean, I tried that one for a little while, and it just nothing going on. I could not get the hang of it.
Yeah, once I scored enough baskets, I was just like, I'm done. I can't play this molasses game.
See, and it's frustrating for me because there was, I don't remember the name, but there was a there was a cartridge that had it was like Super Strike Volleyball, or it was a volleyball and a soccer game on the same cartridge, and those were like really good, and I really enjoyed playing those, and I haven't seen them for decades at this point. So playing these like super inferior versions of soccer and volleyball were just kind of frustrating.
I mean, that's the nicest way you can say it.
Sensible soccer's pretty decent. Like all of like the top down ones are a lot easier to control. You can see where the ball is, you can see where the player is that you're controlling. Because my main issue with this, which comes up in a lot of the other games that we're going to talk about, is it will give you control of the closest person to the ball. Generally, well, that's kind of like how it's meant to work, which in theory sounds great, but this game seems a little bit iffy with it. Like, it will sometimes not have the person closest to the ball in control. And sometimes it will, and it will kind of like chop and change it will.
Well, I noticed that you can... I figured out that you can cycle through players by pressing B.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So, but you can't cycle all the players. You can cycle, like, the 2 closest players. Like, it'll pick the 2 closest players to the ball, and then you can swap with B. And it's not always super-duper responsive, and then once the ball gets far enough away, it'll automatically change you over to different control. So it's just really clunky. Like, they were doing their best. I suppose the NES only has 2 action buttons on it, because that's the thing, is like, it's a really rough game. Like, again, probably 2 out of 10 soccer balls on my arbitrary sports rating system. All the balls are worth the same, by the way. It's not like soccer balls are worth more. But then you get into Super Soccer, and I was expecting it to be just kind of soccer, but with more pixels.
Super?
Yeah, but super. And it's a totally different game. I mean, it's soccer, but it's a completely different game.
Yeah.
And the entire time I played, nobody scored a goal. But I think out of all of the sports games, this is the one that like captured me the most. Like, well, you get a nice back view from your side of the field. You can switch around to all of the closest players. You can tackle. You have a tackle. You have a switch. You have a pass, and you have a kick. Like, you have proper control. That's not arbitrary. It doesn't go like, well, now you're in a situation, so this button does this. Like, no, these are all dedicated buttons. And that felt nice.
I may have actually missed Super Soccer on there, on the SNES one. Because I don't remember another soccer game. I only remember the one that I played on the NES.
Yeah, on my menu was all the way at the bottom.
I might have missed that one. But any improvement on the NES one is going to be good.
Literally, because they could have made it faster. I don't know. They could have done so many things. Like, just how volleyball was too fast, NES soccer was too slow. And I don't know why.
Oh, wait, no, I did play Super Soccer. I remember because I made an own goal in like the first minute. And the screen popped up that saying like, oh no, with the guy looking like he's crying on the pitch.
Oh, you scored on yourself? Amazing.
Yeah, within like the first minute, because I didn't know which way I was like meant to be going, because the game didn't tell me.
It didn't tell you.
And I thought, brilliant, I've got a goal. I was like, oh no.
Oh.
So yeah. It didn't make that much of an impact on me, that game. That's why I kind of forgot. But yeah, I did indeed play that one.
No, I really started getting into it now. I don't know how that would play in 2-player. That would be miserable with 2 people, unless they switch the perspective of the field. That would be just really bad. You mentioned Sensible Soccer, and I went and looked it up, and that actually says released on the Amiga and the Atari ST and the Master System, and it released on a lot of stuff.
It was a really big game.
The nice, like, I'm just looking at screenshots of it, and the nice big angle of the field. Like, the angle is nice, but then also just the field of view is really nice, too.
The really early ones were kind of like top down. I think later iterations did kind of like have a bit of an isometric kind of thing. But, I don't like sports games generally, but I do have Sensible Soccer for the Master System, and it is a good game to play.
Yeah, that actually looks really solid for the Master System. Like, that's not a bad-looking game at all.
I found the volleyball soccer thing I was talking about. It was Super Spike V-Ball and Nintendo World Cup.
Super Spike V-Ball. Wow, that is... that was an arcade game. Okay. And it released on, I'm assuming... SNES, or was it NES?
It was NES.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the NES screenshot. Wow, those guys are just absolutely ripped.
Right?
I want to play this game. They're all like a bunch of Dolph Lundgrens out there. Amazing. Wonder who developed that. Technos. Okay, that doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about it. I just know that I had these two on one cartridge, and it was really good. The soccer, especially. The Nintendo World Cup is what I played the most out of that.
See, when you say Nintendo World Cup, I think Nintendo World Championship for some reason. And that's definitely a different thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I give NES Soccer a 2, and honestly, the Super Soccer, which I think that's what it was called, was Super Soccer. I give that a solid 5. Like, I genuinely, like, I was only gonna play it for like maybe 10 minutes, and then I ended up playing it for like 30 minutes.
Right?
And I just didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah, it's definitely an improvement. Although there are still much better soccer games out there.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, there's Mario Super Strikers. If you can find that on GameCube, that game is so good.
I love the Strikers games.
It's just I'm really mad that they didn't end up making a sequel. They made a Mario Tennis.
No, they made
it's okay,
Super Mario Strikers Charge on the Wii.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
How did I miss that?
I don't know, but they did it.
I was hoping that they were going to release one on the Switch, and they didn't.
Yeah, well.
At some point, we're going to have to do kind of like a Mario sports games episode.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of really good ones.
Yeah, Mario Tennis on the N64 is super good.
Super good. Well, I might have that, actually. I'll have to look through my games. If I don't, I should. See, that's basically exactly what my friend is obsessed with that game. He loves Mario Tennis on the N64. It might be one of his favorite N64 games, period.
It's definitely one of the ones I've played the most. I actually went through and got every single character up to that elite level.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's commitment.
It's a really good game, man.
Unfortunately, Tennis on the NES wasn't Mario Tennis, even if it had Mario in it.
Yeah, like, every tennis game we played, I'm like, this is crap. I want to play Mario Tennis.
I mean, I actually thought that the NES Tennis was better than the SNES one, personally.
Oh, no.
Oh, see, okay. So, no, I agree with you on that. Because I played NES Tennis, and I'm like, this is pretty rough, but I'm giving it some leeway. Because it's the NES. And it's not super hard. It's just that it's fast and it's tight. And then I rolled over and I started playing Smash Tennis, which was graphically a very big upgrade. And like the courts are fun and goofy. Like one of them, the mountaintop court, as you're bouncing back and forth, you can see a dude who's like slowly climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
And then like after a little while, he like climbs to the top and he plants his flag. And it's just goofy. But then I played Super Tennis. And it was a massive, massive downgrade. Because it's so fast. It's just as tight as the original tennis is. And it's like, I swear to God, it's twice as fast.
I struggled to get volleys going in Super Tennis, but I did manage it quite a bit in the NES one.
Yeah, like I got into tennis for once I got my groove on, I was doing pretty solid. I didn't win, but I got my groove on. And I even did okay in Smash Tennis, not as good as I was doing in NES Tennis, but I was doing okay for a second. Like, there was a point where the CPU started to serve, and just 4 in a row scored on me, just blam, 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 because that ball just came screaming in at 100 miles an hour. I had no idea which direction it was going to go. And also, can I talk really quick, because I don't play tennis, but can I talk really quick about the scoring system in tennis? Because I don't understand, and maybe someone here can explain it to me. Because if you make a score point, you get 15 points, and if you do a second score point, you get 30 points. Yeah. So we're working in 15s, but then if you get a third one, it's 40 points, and then if you get another one, it's 1 point.
Yeah, it's I don't know who came up with it, but they were probably drunk.
And then if you foul on serve, it's a fault, and if you get a second fault, it's an arbitrary number of points, whether it be counting by 15s or 10s to your opponent. But if you foul after your serve, it's an out, which is just one foul is points. You don't get to do it twice. And I just don't understand how numbers work at this point.
Yeah, I don't know where any of it came from. I've played enough tennis video game to understand it, but I don't know the origin or how it makes sense.
Yeah, I was good and lost on it. But and all I really wanted to play at that point was tennis on Wii Sports.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first thing I was just like, man, like, not only is tennis on Wii Sports fun single player, but it's even more fun with a friend. Like,
although one of the best things I've ever seen with Wii Tennis was a friend of mine who actually plays tennis set himself up for a doubles match where he was controlling all 4 players.
That's amazing.
It was incredible to watch.
Did you get video of that?
I did not.
You need to do that again. That's gold.
Oh, is he kind of like General Grievous, like spinning those lightsabers around?
No, that's the crazy thing. It's like the way you set it up is, you can say, okay, I want my character to be this spot, but you can put the same person in all 4 spots, and they're all controlled from the same controller.
Okay. Yeah, see, I was also kind of getting the image of just like, it's like, welcome to Wii Sports Resorts, and then he's just holds up 4 Wii remotes. He's like, General Kenobi. Shit. I think that would be even more fun. Just tape them to your arms. So, yeah, I would give, I don't know. I'd give NES Tennis 30 points out of, I don't know where they max out. And Smash Tennis, you would get a 15 out of, I don't know where these points max out. And Super Tennis gets 2 faults. Against itself. Like, it scored on itself.
NES Tennis is one of the few games that we played this month that I would probably go back to.
Yeah, and I would like to go back to that. I'll probably go back to that one with my friend, because we'll get to it probably here in a minute or two, but we probably have actually played like 5 hours of dodgeball, and that's a lot. And I think we could probably play a lot of this too.
See, I have Mario Tennis on the N64.
Yeah, well, why would you go back to playing this one?
Yeah, I will never play any of these again.
Other big ball sports that have big balls, misshapen balls too, is we have 1 football games on the Switch Online collection.
And it's not even one of the good ones.
And I like Tecmo Bowl.
Well, okay, so I should be clear here. I like Tecmo Super Bowl, the version they made after this. Tecmo Bowl on here, like, it's fine, but the version that I know is Tecmo Super Bowl, and that actually has all the teams. It has bigger playbooks. You can customize your playbook. You play a whole season. There's so many more features to it. But apparently, no one's ever heard of it. They only know about the actual Tecmo Bowl. And I mean, this one, it's got, what did we say? Like, 15 teams, 16 teams?
I think we counted 12.
12, yeah. Out of the 28 they had at the time. Like,
yeah.
And the thing that hurts for me is most of the teams are teams I absolutely hate. So
I didn't even know that Super Tecmo Bowl was a thing. Like, I just didn't know. Like, I own Tecmo Bowl. I have an actual card of it. I've played it on the NES Online. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big football fan. I think the best football game ever made was NFL Blitz 2000. Which is about as far from football as you can get and still be, playing football.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know that there was a Super Tecmo, which makes sense. Like, if you said Super Tecmo Bowl, I would have assumed that it was on the Super Nintendo because of the trend at the time. Well, I only have one real question about Super Tecmo Bowl, as did they patch Bo Jackson?
No.
So he's still just a god amongst men.
Yeah, he is. He is still ungodly in that game.
Okay, because
same for if you use the 49ers, you've got Montana to Rice, and it's absurd every time. Bo Jackson is just absolutely broken.
Yeah, no, he's super broken. It's hilarious how broken it is. Like, literally, you get the ball, Bo Jackson, nothing can catch him. Like, I know there was viewed. It was actually a little bit of a controversy over it too at the time, because the footage was used without permission.
Mm.
But Family Guy did a thing where they all sit down and they play Tecmo Bowl.
Oh yeah,
And he runs, and Bo Jackson is so untouchable that you can actually run all the way from one end of the field to the other end back safely. Like, that's how fast he is. Like, they just can't keep up. I remember the first time I learned about him as, a god in the game, my friend picked because he was super into football. And I just didn't know, and he knew. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Why can't I catch you? And then he told me, he's like, literally, Bo Jackson is broken. And I was like, thanks. So we're banning that now.
yeah, but what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Well, I lost that game really, really badly. Is what's gonna happen. Like, I got slaughtered.
But so here's where things get really wacky. There is Super Tecmo Bowl on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay. Wait, what?
Yes. So there, and let me pull this up just to make sure I'm accurate here. So there's Tecmo Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. And then there's Super Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah. So the version I know, Tecmo Super Bowl, was released in 1991. Yeah, so Tecmo Bowl was released in 1989. Oh, okay. So the reason Tecmo Bowl only has so many teams is because they didn't get an NFL team license.
Ah.
So that's what the problem is.
That makes sense why the original Tecmo Bowl also had, like, the Army and... had, like, the Army team in there and stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So there's that. But yeah, so there's Tecmo Super Bowl, which was the sequel made in 1991. And then there's Tecmo Super Bowl 2
on the Genesis and Super Nintendo.
And then Tecmo Super Bowl 3, I think. There was another one. And it's interesting because, Tecmo Bowl was a success, but I think Super Bowl is where it really took off. But there have been people making mods for Tecmo Super Bowl to this day to put in, like, current rosters and shit.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's actually super cool. And unnecessary, but super cool.
Yeah, right? But yeah, so, like, there's a massive following for this game. Tecmo Super Bowl may be one of the most hacked and modified NES games in existence. ROMs that contain current-day rosters or maintain the original gameplay, college football rosters, an annually updated 32-team ROM image with present-day professional rosters. That is incredible. There's still, like, tournaments going on, like, every year.
That's actually super awesome. And wholly unnecessary, but super awesome.
Yeah.
I guess when a game leaves an impact, holy shit.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the gameplay is solid.
Yeah, it's football. It's an NES football game.
Yeah.
I like that when you... I always thought it was funny when you tackle someone or block someone in... it would be when you're blocking in Tecmo Bowl. Like, you can run your dude down and intercept a defender, and you'll tussle for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it's just not, you tussle and stop. Like, when you win that tussle, they just go sailing.
Yep.
Like, I don't know what these guys, I don't know, like, how much protein these guys are eating, but...
Well, yeah, and like you'll be kicking a field goal, and then you'll just see your entire line go flying. It's like, oh, God.
So, this game, I didn't understand at all.
Which,
honestly,
okay.
I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, and unless you have a basic understanding of American football, you're not going to understand this at all. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, like it's not even necessarily a regional thing, because, like, I know you guys don't have over there. You don't have American football. I think you have rugby. I think you play rugby over there, right? Yeah. So that's not the same game. It is. There are a couple parallels to draw mostly the violence. but other than that, they're complete and ball shape. Like they're both pointy egg shaped balls, and after that, there's no similarities between the games.
Yeah.
But like when I was a kid going in and playing this, when I had absolutely no comprehension of football at all, like I still enjoyed myself because I was playing a video game, but I had no clue what I was doing other than guy has ball, run ball, and stop people from getting ball.
Yeah. So I actually used to play this with my dad. My dad had this, and when I go over there, we'd play this one along with a few other games. But he taught me everything about football. So like this is one of those things that we did together, and it was good times. But I think for an NES game, it works surprisingly well. Like 90% of NES sports games I despise because they're just kind of crap. But this one actually works really well.
I mean, I did, I think, one kind of like run on the ball. I got it like quite far up the field, and then it came up with this super complicated looking menu. And I had to choose these things, or I could choose like field goal.
Yeah,
so I chose field goal.
Choosing your plays.
And maybe I was too far away because I didn't make it. But I had absolutely no idea what was going on. But as a kid, I did play a lot of Madden 92 on the Mega Drive. I also, as a kid, didn't really understand American football. But I think that game is a lot more user-friendly.
It is. The Madden games are actually pretty solid.
I used to play it mostly in multiplayer, like two-player multiplayer on the Mega Drive. And I did enjoy that quite a lot. Whether or not I'd actually enjoy it now, I don't know. But I did play it a lot as a kid. But this one just seemed really overcomplicated to me.
Yeah, and it's actually a super streamlined version of it. Basically, the play menu is you've got and this one is even simpler than what I know, but you've got the 4 D-pad directions and A to choose plays. And the defense is trying to basically choose the same play. And if that happens, you'll see like the defense just swarms in and destroys you.
Yeah, and that's what's cool about, and that's one of the cool things about playing this game with another person. It's like you don't highlight the play you want.
Yes.
You tap the direction you want because those plays are supposed to be made without knowledge of the other player, like the other team. So when you're playing with a friend and you pick your offensive play and they pick their defensive play, you don't know what they pressed.
Yes.
Unless you're a filthy cheater who looks over at the controller.
Yeah.
So and that was a really like it's little touches like that where they went like, oh well, you could cycle through your plays and pick one, but then everybody would know and this game would go nowhere.
Yeah.
So we can just do a quick tap, and I didn't understand that for a long time as a kid. Like I just like I pick a play and suddenly it's picked. I'm like, oh, I did. What if I didn't want that play? It's like, well, too late. You should have looked at them longer.
Yeah.
Also, I do remember when I was a kid, I went for the field goal as much as I could.
It's pretty good, to get something this recognizable as American football that, if you know what's going on, it feels like football on this system. Like, that's kind of impressive.
Yeah, right. Especially since football is a relatively complicated game.
Yeah.
So when you actually can give a pretty good feeling, you can get that out there. It's I'd say it's impressive, but I think it's actually more satisfying to actually know that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I give this 5 out of 10 footballs, maybe 6 out of 10 footballs.
Going by this system, I'd probably give it 5 just because it's not Super Bowl.
Right, and I feel like if I had grown up playing Super Bowl and I played this and a whole bunch of teams were missing, I'd be a little mad.
Yeah.
But I didn't, so I'm not.
I'll kind of withhold a score because I just didn't understand it. It's more my issue than the game's issue.
Right. All right. So what else do we have in here?
I kind of want to save the best games for last, or at least what many will consider the best games for last. And I think, let's see, we did tennis, we did bup. Oh, Pilot Wings on there. Flying's a sport by some people's standards who have lots of money and can afford to go flying.
Yeah, I didn't play that because,
It is a lot of fun, but it's not sports. Baseball.
Oh, yeah, the baseball one.
So, my brother was super into baseball we were playing it a while back. I can't. Maybe I'm just not. I can't play baseball, but oh my god. I'm so bad at this game.
This one I was actually able to play more than most of these.
Really?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So like it wasn't. I mean, it was still kind of crap, but it was. I could actually like play this one.
Yeah, I found this one like pretty simple. This is actually the first one that I played because I played them in order of release, and this is the earliest game on there. And it was pretty simple. You just press the button at the right time, and everything else is kind of like automatic, really, unless there are some kind of like nuances that I'm missing. But I was pretty much winning each round, like pretty easily without too much effort, and it was just like quite a fun game. I found like one of the better ones on the NES.
See, maybe I was trying to push it too hard because I know that you can make attempts to steal bases, and then also you can try to get those people who are trying to steal bases out. But like my biggest problem with the game was not the actual batting bits, because that was fine. That's just a timing game, but it's trying to go out into the field and catch the goddamn ball.
Yeah, that.
You run so slowly.
Yeah.
Like, if you get a solid hit on the ball, it doesn't have to be a homer, it just has to be a pretty solid hit, you can just about make it around the field.
Yeah.
Also, somehow, I was having a problem where, like, my guys would try to share bases, which is not allowed. Like, they would run up there, and one of my... Like, the one guy wouldn't fucking move, so he'd have to go back, and I'd get out. I don't understand. This is why I'm not sure that I'm, like, smart enough for this game.
There is actually a button when you're pitching that will throw it to one of the bases. What's that about? Because I don't really know about the rules of baseball.
That is that you're trying to go for an out when someone's trying to steal a base. Because when you're, I guess, on the offensive, I don't know how they define that because I'm not enough into sports, but basically if your team is at bat, you can just force a player to try to steal a base. And he can just run. You don't have to. Ball doesn't have to get hit to change bases. It's just the guy at home plate can't go after a base unless he's hit the ball. So people on base can try to run to the next base, and you can throw the ball to try to catch them when they do that and get them out. It's a high risk for maneuver.
I mean, honestly, I still don't understand it.
Yeah, no, baseball's a weird game. It's the American sport. Pastime. There we go.
You mentioned about when he goes out into the field and you guys are running around. I found that I wasn't controlling them. They just went for the ball automatically. But I then had to control when they threw the ball back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or can you control them and make it faster or what?
Well, see, that I feel like you can control them, but maybe it's like a switch thing. Maybe you gain control of them at a certain point where it's like, okay, now you have to be out here. And you can kind of run around for the ball, but they run so slowly. Like, I don't even think there's a proper outfielder to handle that because, like, I've watched a fair amount of baseball over the years. They're faster than that. Like, people say baseball is kind of a boring game, and I have to agree. But I still appreciate that a lot of these guys are like, they are athletes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they can fucking move. And then when I'm playing baseball and, you know, my opponent nails one out pretty far and my fielders just sort of casually mosey out to the ball. And I'm like, hey, listen, man, I need more than that. And I feel like the downfall of this game is they actually tried to make too much baseball out of it for an NES game, because it made me want to play Wii Sports Baseball, which was super streamlined baseball.
But it still worked really well.
But it still worked well, and unlike this game, I found Wii Sports Baseball to be a lot of fun. Another game I found to be a lot of fun, and I have, is Ken Griffey Jr.'s Slugfest, which I still have to this day. And that is proper baseball.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I had World Series Baseball for the Game Gear that I really enjoyed.
And was it a better version than this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was
okay.
It was great.
So I'm wondering if this was just one of those, this is a really early title for the NES, and
It's
they were trying to, and they were like, man, we got to figure this out. People like sports on games, because Atari, but like even Atari had baseball games, and while they weren't anything great, they weren't the worst thing.
Yeah.
And I would say Atari had baseball games better than this.
This isn't only the earliest sports game on the NES Online service, it's the earliest game, like, full stop, on the NES Online. Because I sorted everything by release order. This is the very first game on that list.
Oh, so this is a very early game.
Yeah, see, it's the earliest one on the Switch.
Well, now I want to know what it actually released.
1985.
1985. Oh, holy shit, really?
Mm-hmm.
That? Oh, wow. That is actually really old. I think that's...
That almost predates the console itself.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's only games that I can think of are slightly older than that. Would be like Kung Fu.
Actually, 1983.
Okay.
1983.
That's definitely got to predate the fucking console.
No, it says 7th of December 1983. I've just Googled it.
Well, keep in mind that it might have released originally on the Famicom.
That's probably what it is.
If this was released on the Famicom and it was just ported over to the NES, that would mean and the Famicom was released in July 15th, 1983. Oh, wow, missed that during the anniversaries. Well, no, not really, because that would have been a 27th year anniversary. And I was sorting by powers of 5.
I'm just looking at the release dates now. The 83 was the Famicom. 85, October 85 was North America, and September 86 was EU.
Okay.
So then this would have been released on the Famicom and later ported to the NES.
Yeah, so the NES version, the one that's on here, is 85.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was wondering, because on the list it does tell you the release year, and it did say 1985. So yeah, that'll be that particular version.
Okay. But I bet it's basically the same exact game.
Oh, it will be. I mean, I'm looking at the Wikipedia article now, and it doesn't mention any changes, really.
Well, and actually, I know the Famicom had several baseball games, but also baseball's kind of big in Japan.
Yeah, it's huge.
Which I find very humorous. Also, partly because I just watched through Samurai Champloo about a month ago, and the baseball episode is still one of the funniest episodes of anime I've ever watched. If you haven't watched Samurai Champloo and don't mind anime, I highly recommend giving it a whirl. So yeah, baseball. I don't know how you guys want to score it, but that's like a 4 out of 10 home runs on my book, at best. But I think it's just because I suck.
I'd probably put it a 7 out of 10 for me.
Oh wow!
I mean, in relative terms of this list, not as like video games as a whole.
Oh, okay, yeah, right. That's fair.
This is probably my second favorite out of all the games that we played. Maybe third.
That's still pretty good though. What else we got here? Oh, there was ice hockey. I got way deep into ice hockey. Didn't even think I was going to.
I didn't play a lot of ice hockey. I found kind of a similar issue that I had with the soccer one, where I couldn't quite tell which character that I was actually controlling, which made it hard.
And it sucks in ice hockey too, because at least in soccer you get a little flag above your head that says, player one, or has a one on it, so it knows you at least get a pointer where you are. Whereas in ice hockey, you just sort of start to flash a little bit, and you always have control over the goalie, apparently, which is little goofy.
The one way that this game does elevate itself over soccer is that you can beat up other players.
Yeah.
You can just fire the players.
You just walk up and slap them and then keep on going. Well, and the other thing that it really benefits on is it's the right speed. I'm not going to say it's fast, it's not slow, it's the right speed.
Yeah, I mean, I found this one probably the most enjoyable of the non-American football, just because I could actually play this one.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot to say. It's ice hockey. You have two teams of 4 players plus a goalie, I think. No, maybe? I don't know. I can't count. So. You have an adequate number of people on the team, and it's hockey. It's ice hockey. You slap the puck around. When you gain control of the puck, you don't have to continually hit it to keep it around. You have control over it. You're not just randomly swatting it around. It can be snatched from you. You can get wasted by another player, and they'll knock you on your ass and steal it from you. Shooting is super tight, and it feels good. It feels like there's some power for your slap shots. And halfway through the game, the Zambonis come out.
The what?
The Zambonis to resurface the ice.
Oh, I didn't play for that long.
Oh yeah, it's when you get to your halftime. That does a little cutscene with a little bit of happy music, and you get a couple passes with the Zambonis over the ice, and then all the players come back out. I think switch sides too, which is it was just like, hey, thanks.
Yeah, because I just found that I couldn't really control anything really well, so I just spent a few minutes just fighting other players, and then went on to the next game basically.
Really, you just played hockey the way it's meant to be played, which is just having a tussle on the ice, a tilly, if you will. I found it humorous that there wasn't any sort of, not that it would matter, but I found that there was no sorts of penalties. So, when you just when you just go in and just take a dude out, it's that'd send you to the sin bin in actual hockey. You can't just roll up and thump someone for the sake of doing it. I mean, they get away with it a lot, but also a good ref will be like, hey, man, calm the fuck down. But in this, it's just whatever. You know what? Go hit him again. We're not going to do anything about it. I don't know. I like this, especially since for some reason going in, I had this preconception that it was going to be basically dressed up Pong. It's ice hockey, and I had a really weird feeling that it was essentially just going to be Pong on an ice rink. You would have a couple paddles that would slide around. Imagine foosball, but Pong and on the NES. That's what I had going on in my mind. And then when I came out, and when I actually started playing it, and it was actually hockey, I was rather surprised. So maybe that artificially boosted my enjoyment. I don't know why I thought it was going to be that. I mean, it even shows hockey players on the box art. There was literally no reason I would have thought it was going to be Pong, other than I thought it was going to be.
I mean, like the Atari version would have been that. I thought this one was pretty good.
I thought it was pretty good. And the graphics were not super. I mean, it's NES, but the graphics were pretty clean.
Yeah,
it was crisp but clear what was going on, and that's always nice when you see that, especially when you have as much motion on the screen as you have, because one of my favorite titles on here is Dodgeball, but Dodgeball has a problem with lots of motion on the screen, and kind of I think Tecmo Bowl does it a bit too, where you get kind of these weird anomalies with sprites as you're moving around. Some of the ones that aren't in focus will sort of just kind of glitch out of frame by frame. They'll sort of disappear and reappear.
Yeah,
because it doesn't matter. I want to say Tecmo made Dodgeball as well, but I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. Oh, it was produced by Technos Japan, not Tecmo. Okay, that's why I thought it was. Never mind. Imagine Soft. I first tried Dodgeball probably 6-7 months ago. And it took me and my friend probably a solid 10 minutes to actually get the hang of what was going on. And after that, maximum fun.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember when, like, I figured out you could run and whip the ball and, like, just about kill people with it. And he's like, how the hell did you do that? And then we started actually, like, going into the teams. Like, your Team Russia all have, like, gigantic health bars. But apparently, like, the China's team are all, like, Kung Fu masters because they can almost one-shot a Russian player with their giant health bar. And it's so goofy when... Oh, that was the thing that when we were first playing it, because I didn't play it for this, because I've dumped enough time into it already, when you actually take out an opponent or get taken out, like your stamina bar is gone, you just fucking die. Like, you go down, your body goes flying, and you see your angel spirit ascend to heaven.
I forgot about that.
Like, they're not playing. This is like the movie Dodgeball. That's what's going on here.
Unlike most of the other sports games that we've played here, this does have a more like cartoony presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's almost kind of like Double Dragon with balls.
Yeah, or like River City Ransom.
Yeah, and it's got like quite funky music as well.
Mm-hmm. And the characters look a little goofy with their big foreheads and yeah.
Like whilst a lot of the games on here are kind of like quite serious representations of the sport, this is clearly just kind of like an arcadey style, kind of game. I was bad at it, and I got beaten constantly, but I did enjoy the presentation of it.
Yeah, it's getting through that when because this is going to be kind of a highlight of the I don't really want to say it now, but I will anyway. This highlights a singular problem of NES and SNES Online. Is you have a lot of these games that you would be well off with a player's manual, like the game manual, and it's nowhere to be found on the application itself. It doesn't even link you out to something or give you a QR code to scan with your phone to pull up the player's guide. Because even the minis did that. It's like, oh, you want to go and see the player's guide? Well, we have a QR code, and you can go to this website and read a PDF of it.
I was actually planning on bringing that up at some point for like all of these games, because most of them really would have benefited from me being able to read a manual beforehand. And like I said, there was just no way to do that here.
Isn't there like a user guide in the online thing?
Nope.
I've
been able to find.
Yeah, I wasn't able to find it.
So if you bring up the menu with the two triggers, you can press X. It says user guide.
Oh, I see. I didn't see that.
Oh.
Why wouldn't they just put that on the menu on the side?
I have no idea. And I'm currently using a controller that doesn't have X, so I can't bring it up. But
wait a minute. What controller do you have?
The 8BitDo N30. It's got A,
oh,
B.
yeah. It has A, B, and then turbo buttons.
Yeah.
One of those turbo buttons might actually function as X on the menus.
It doesn't. I've tried it.
Oh, damn. It just is A or B really fast.
Yep.
I mean, one other issue I had, just while we're on kind of like the online system itself, the like menu bar at the bottom that never goes away on like any of the games is really obtrusive.
There's settings for that.
It's really bright, and for some reason, like at a random time, it will just say, "Oh, press these two buttons to go to the restore menu." That seems to come up at random, and yeah, that's something that you kind of need to know. But why are you just telling me while I'm like in the middle of a game? And that notification is slightly higher than the others, so it actually obscures part of the image as well.
Settings. Oh, okay. So the NES Online does not. Well, actually, hang on. Okay, so you can remove that setting on the NES Online.
I'll have to look into that because it is so much brighter than anything else on the screen that it's really distracting.
Yeah, so on the game select screen, you go over to the left and go to settings, and there's a show controls in game thing you can toggle on or off.
Cool. I'll have to turn that off. You would have thought that setting would show controls for each individual game. I mean, it's not like there's a lot of games on there. You know, they could quite easily do it.
No, and again, it's like, especially with the NES, controls are pretty straightforward. Like, Dodgeball might have some of the most complicated controls of all of the sports games we've covered on the NES so far, because you have a jump, a run, a catch. You can throw, catch, pass, jump, and sprint. So, like, there's a lot going on for a D-pad and 2 buttons.
Yeah, they squeezed a lot in there. Like, I've always heard people talk about how good Dodgeball is.
And the only, like, real shame of Dodgeball is that it has a lot of, like, that weird graphical, like, it struggles a lot with its sprites to keep everything on screen at the same time. Like, on some of the power throws, like, that ball will go sailing at 100 miles an hour, and it'll just, like, the graphics will clip, and the ball will just disappear, and it's like it teleports across the field. So it's almost impossible to catch that. You totally can, but if it disappears, you don't know where the ball is, you don't know when to catch.
Yeah.
Which is a little weird. But other than that, I guess it's Super Dodgeball, I didn't know.
Yeah, the cover art is actually quite funny as well.
Yeah, it is. Dude, he's just getting beamed.
It's just this guy putting this really weird face with a ball coming to his face.
Bop. Kind of makes me wish there was an official Olympic dodgeball sport, to be honest. I would watch Summer Olympics for that.
NES Open, it took me forever to figure out how to actually hit the ball. Which, when you only have 2 buttons, is not that's not a good thing.
It shouldn't be hard to do.
It was ridiculous. Like, I just during this podcast, I figured out how to hit the ball properly and get through a couple of holes, but that was ridiculous.
I recall that being a problem on the Game Boy Golf, and it was just golf.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the timing on it was rather specific for no particular reason.
I am a little upset that NES Golf isn't on here.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was looking for, so I just scanned right over.
Because the thing is, and I'm sure people already know about this, but, like, NES Golf was hard-coded into the Switch so that on, I think it was on Satoru Iwata's birthday, if you did his hand motion thing with the Joy-Cons, it would bring up golf.
Really?
Yeah. But I think it only worked for, like, the first year or 2 years of the system.
I didn't know. That's actually super cool.
Yeah. So I'm very surprised that NES Golf isn't on here.
Yeah, because I own Golf. I actually have a hard copy of Golf. And it's NES Golf. Like, I find it kind of odd that they even bothered with a golf game on the NES, but I mean, really, anything was fair game.
Yeah.
As long as it passed Nintendo's standards.
And I mean, NES Golf was largely made with Satoru Iwata, so yeah.
Yeah, so of course it's going to be. I mean, yeah, it had, yeah. So of course it's going to make it. I mean, it was a game. It was a game. I can't say much about NES Golf. I didn't play Open, so
yeah,
I would assume it's also a game.
Yeah. Now, like Matt said, Punch-Out. This is one of the, like, as far as I'm concerned, this is one of the most iconic sports games on the NES. Proper iconic, not Ubisoft iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I remember watching people play this years and years ago, and it was one of those things where, like, you know, everyone was trying to get to the end of the game and, you know, all that. I was never any good at it. I'm still not any good at it. But I recognize this is a really good game, and a lot of people really enjoy it.
I had never actually played either of them before.
Really?
Obviously, I kind of like knew about them because they are super famous, but I'd never actually played either of them. So I was quite surprised going into this that I did actually quite enjoy. It's almost not a sports game. It's kind of like a mix between a puzzle game and a rhythm action game almost.
Yeah, no, that's actually what I was going to say. That. Yeah, no, because like the whole, as far as the puzzle bit, you're looking for the openings on every single fighter, like what their cues are for to stun them hard, to get your star punches, what their you're looking for their various openings, knowing their pattern of attack, and then once you get going, there's rhythm to keep the damage going long and louder, keep the punches going for a super long time. And yeah, no, that's one of the crazy things about Punch-Out! Is I almost classify it as just a rhythm game.
Yeah, and like it can take a little while to like figure out how to actually defeat each fighter, but they are all like quite unique in the way that you need to beat them. And it is kind of fun working that out. I mean, I think I only got to like the third fighter on each of the two games. But yeah, it was like fun to figure it out and get those timings down.
Mm-hmm. I didn't figure out the timing in Punch-Out! For Bald Bull. He's like the sixth fighter you fight, I think. But he does this thing where he'll back up to the back of the ring and then he'll just run at you. He runs at you and punches, and you can't block it, you can't dodge it. And if you get hit, you go down. And you can only take like 2 hits, and then you're knocked out cold. So what you have to do is you have to punch him at just the right time, and then he goes sailing. Because he's completely open while he's run, but you just have to punch him at the right time to knock him off his feet. And I didn't know the timing on it. I could never figure the timing out on it until a few years ago when I was playing it on my NES Mini. There's a little camera that goes off in the corner next to the ring. And when that camera flashes is when you punch. And he goes down every single time.
Yeah, I remember a story from, I think, earlier this year where someone discovered a tell for one of the fighters just on someone in the crowd, when someone in the crowd did a certain thing.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of like waving their arms or something. That was kind of like a tell for an attack. I don't remember what fighter it was or anything, but I do remember that news story. That someone discovered that like this year.
Yeah. There's different tells. Like one of the dudes, I can't remember his name, but he's is it Great Tiger? I don't remember his name, but like he has a little gem on his turban, and when he's about to fire off an attack, the little gem will flash really quick, and you know to dodge it. Yeah, it's kind of a goofy game. Like you have one dude, Soda Popinski. I used codes to get to him when I was a kid. Could never beat him. He will waste you. And Super Macho Man as well. They'll both just obliterate you. I worked with one guy who they were doing a Punch-Out! Competition. Not really a tournament, but they were basically they were using codes and they were seeing how fast they could take out Mike Tyson, because they were playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! It's the same exact game as Punch-Out! Featuring Mr. Dream. It's just that there was a reskin. And the licensing for Mike Tyson's game was not present. And he took a bet that he could take out Mike Tyson in one cycle, in round 1, and he did it. And that's really impressive. Because normally the way that you take Mike Tyson out in that game is you have to run him you have to run him down. He wears down. So you have to keep taking him down, and most importantly, you have to survive. But yeah, apparently if you beat him hard enough and fast enough, because it's not based off of, it's not, the way you take fighters down and get them knocked out is not based off of how many times you punch them or how many times they hit the mat. You have to hit a certain score. And it's one of those things that people, it's easy to overlook, but once you hit a certain score for landing X amount of hits, if you exceed a certain score and then deplete their bar, they won't get back up. And that's a little weird.
Yeah.
I really do love Mike Tyson's Punch-Out featuring Mr. Dream. I think they're excellent titles. Like you said, Steven, you couldn't really get into it for one reason or another. But you also, respect the game for what it is. I will say, I couldn't get into Super Punch-Out. I tried it again now. I tried it on my SNES Mini. I don't know what it is about Super Punch-Out, but I don't like it.
I think, this may have just been like my personal perception of it, but Super Punch-Out didn't seem as visceral. The punch hits didn't have the same impact. The music wasn't as good. It wasn't kind of like as pumping, I found. And even though it's kind of like got the voice samples in it, which the original didn't,
Which it did.
It just it's difficult to describe. It just feels more immediate, if that makes sense. It's hard to describe. But the original Punch-Out is my favorite game out of the ones that we played, and Super Punch-Out is probably like my second or third.
Yeah, and Punch-Out, I did a lot better this time than I have previously. Like, previously I could never even beat Glass Joe. It was just not clicking for me. This time I at least got to the second person. Super Punch-Out just got totally wiped. I had no idea what was going on.
That is one of my favorite things about the Punch-Out series is just some of the banter they have. Because in Punch-Out, Little Mac doesn't really say a whole lot other than like, oof, I don't know. And then Doc's like, he's pumping you up with like, oh, you just go get him, kid. But then your opponents, they'll have like kind of funny bios, but then they'll have little funny quips before and in between rounds.
Yeah.
And I will say that in Super Punch-Out, immediately they're funnier because in Punch-Out they're like, oh yeah, I'm the so-and-so and I'm going to win. And sometimes there'll be something funny in there too. But right in the opening of Super Punch-Out, the first dude you fight is just like, I've lost so many matches, I don't even remember the last time I won a match. Please let me win.
Yeah, the second guy in Super Punch-Out I found quite funny. The Russian guy.
The big Bluto-looking guy?
Yeah, that you've got to, like, punch in the nipple to stun him.
Yeah.
He, like, points at his nipple for whatever reason. And, yeah, you've got to stun him, then, like, block up and hit him in the face, and it took me a while to figure out what to do with him, because I was just kind of, like, punching him in the nipple for the first, like, couple rounds or so.
He knows what he did. Well, I mean, and in the original Punch-Out, you have King Hippo. And he's just this big dude, and he will absolutely wreck you. Like, he hits like a tank. But when he winds up, you have to dodge a whole bunch of his attacks and basically goad him into opening up and going for a big punch. And when he goes for a big punch, you punch him in the guts, and his shorts start falling down.
Yeah.
And you can keep punching him, and you can lock him for a really long time into him just constantly trying to pull his shorts back up. Because every time you punch him, they fall, and he pulls them back up, and then you can punch him again. And when you finally whittle his bar down, because he takes damage very slowly, and getting those punches specifically are worth a lot of points, so as long as you nail all of those punches like that, and don't punch on block, he goes down and he's so fat that he can't get back up. It's a fun time. that is the one nice thing, is all the characters, even if some of them are like, oh, I'm supposed to be super serious, they all have a lot of character and are fun in their own right.
Yeah. One of the games I want to get to at some point is the that Wii remake of Punch-Out they made.
Yeah, I heard it's really good.
Yeah.
There was a run that somebody did on that game quite a while back that was super, super impressive. Was it they beat Wii for Punch-Out without blocking or dodging? Was they couldn't block or dodge and they still beat it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which basically means you have to land every single punch at every single opportunity, and then also just kind of have to get kind of lucky.
Yeah.
Because there isn't like a set pattern for the fighters in those games. It's just that they have set cues of what they're going to do next. So if they're going to punch next, and it's a punch that doesn't have like doesn't have a or opening on it to punch back, you just have to take the hit. And when you get up against some of your heavier hitters in your heavyweight class, that's just a couple punches and you're down.
Yeah.
It does seem to be a more difficult game than the original. I'm just looking at speedrun times now. The Wii version speedrun is 21 minutes 29 seconds, and the NES version speedrun is a touch under 15 minutes. So there's like a good 6-7 minutes there.
Probably a couple extra matches, I would assume.
Maybe.
Well, because I also know that in the Wii version, if I'm correct, one of the secret fighters that you can get to in one of the circuits is Donkey Kong.
Yeah. So you can finally use that boxing glove for more than just baseball.
Wait. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that was from the baseball, the Strikers baseball, whatever it was.
Super Mario, Mario Superstar Baseball on the GameCube. DK doesn't have a bat; he has a boxing glove.
Okay, yeah, I remember. Because in the Project M, Super Smash Bros. Brawl Project M, there's an alt skin for Donkey Kong, and he's wearing boxing gloves.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I don't know if that was from Punch-Out or if that was originally inspired by Mario Baseball.
I mean, it could go either way.
Yeah, I forgot about that for a second. Yeah, that's really funny. Donkey Kong just rolling in and wrecking people's shit. But yeah, no, I don't like Super Punch-Out. And if someone gets mad about that, that's fine.
I liked it, just not as much.
That was the other thing that I noticed, the difference between Punch-Out and Super Punch-Out. So in Punch-Out, you're Little Mac, and you are like 5'4". You're tiny. You're this just little dude. You are hilariously small, and then to top it off, all the people you're fighting are super tall.
Yeah.
They start out like, oh yeah, like Glass Joe, I think he's like 6 feet tall. So he's got a good 6 inches on you. And he appears a little bit bigger because of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not like insanely taller than you. And then you go up against the next dude and he's a bit taller. And then as you go farther and farther, your opponents just start getting hilariously big.
Yeah.
Like they're just absolute giants of people. And you're still tiny little Mac. And it's like you don't get a perspective of it really, because you're like, oh, it's just a perspective thing. But then you actually, like, when you win a match, you'll kind of run forward and be like, yeah, I won. And it's like, yeah, no, you're just this little dude. And in Super Punch-Out, you're not. And I think that takes away from some of the, I don't know, I feel like it detracted from the game.
Mm.
And maybe that's just me, because the whole thing is Little Mac is the guy, he wants to be a boxer, and like he really has no business being in a ring. It's a game of perseverance. It's a story about perseverance and being a winner.
One thing I will say though is Super Punch-Out, I really like the graphical style. I really like the character designs in it.
Oh, the game looks amazing. The game just looks absolutely outstanding. Really a testament to just what the, like, just the, I guess, the pixel density, the image quality that the Super NES could kick out. Because I want to say that Super Punch-Out was an earlier title on the Super NES. I could be wrong about that. I'm going to look that up really quick. Super Punch-Out was released in... Oh, no, never mind. It was actually a later game.
94.
94. And then, again, and then re-released in 96? I don't know. Okay.
Oh, wow.
No,
the speed run in Super Punch-Out, for whatever reason, is 2.5 minutes. I don't know how, but I'm guessing I'm guessing that's through a glitch.
That has to be a glitch to somehow get your final fighter up there. Whoever, I don't even know who the final fighter in Super Punch-Out is.
Is that the one with the globe, or is that the original Punch-Out?
I think that might be the one with the globe, because the final boss in Punch-Out is either Mike Tyson or Mr. Dream.
Okay. I know one of them you just fight a giant globe with arms and boxing gloves.
I know, well, no, okay, yeah, in Super Punch-Out, the final boss is Nick Bruiser, who looks like an anime villain. I don't know. Punch-Out, I'm going to look that up. Punch-Out Globe Fighter. Maybe that was a different game. I've not seen a Globe Fighter. That or it was a mod, which would probably be really funny. Anyway. I just can't get behind it, and I will defend the original Punch-Out till the day that I die. As far as being a very solid game. Also, Mario, these all being NES titles, Mario made a lot of appearances throughout all these games.
Yeah, like most of them.
Yeah, he just popped in for... And the fun thing about a lot of these games was they weren't official appearances. Like, they were not condoned appearances. They are not officially Mario. Like, Punch-Out, Mario shows up, he's the ref.
Complete with red hat.
Complete with red hat, but, like, this is not a Nintendo game.
Yeah.
At least, or it was not developed initially by Nintendo. Like, it's Nintendo owned, but they just slipped Mario in. And in tennis, they just slipped Mario in as the ref.
Yeah. I want to know, when you play Mario Tennis on the N64, and you're playing as Mario, there's still Mario up on the stand, but he has a blue hat instead of a red hat.
I know.
I want to know who that is.
It's Barrio. Okay, so you know how in Super Mario RPG there's Yoshi, and then the blue Yoshi with the sunglasses is Boshi. Yeah, this is Barrio. It's Mario's cousin. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all of them.
I think we covered them. Quite a few. It's quite a few games, and most of them aren't worth your time. I'm not gonna lie. Like, unless you like punishing yourself, a lot of these games aren't worth your time. But then when you get into something like Punch-Out or maybe Dodgeball, Matt, you like baseball. Like, some of these are just they are solid playable games.
I would pay a couple of bucks to play those, but yeah, I mean, let's be honest. With the exception of Punch-Out or Dodgeball, you're not buying Switch Online to play these. You're getting Switch Online to play Zelda and Super Metroid and shit like that.
Well, I mean, I did actually literally get Switch Online to play these.
Okay, but you did it for the podcast.
Yeah.
Right. Well, hey, you have Switch Online for a month. I would hop in and play some. I don't know how you feel about A Link to the Past, but A Link to the Past is on there, and that's.
I've already got that on the SNES Mini. I'd play on there.
Oh yeah, I guess you do.
I've been playing a lot of Poppin' Twinbee.
How is it? I played Super B on the NES one, but I didn't play Poppin' Twinbee.
It's decent. It's quite difficult. I've not got past the first level boss yet.
Is it still like a vertical shmup?
Yes.
Okay.
But when you die, it takes you like right back to the start of the level.
Oof.
And the level's like fairly lengthy, so I've not been able to get past the first boss yet, but it is fun.
What game did I start playing that I realized that I was playing these games and I'm like, oh shit, they have this on Wild Guns.
Yeah.
They added Wild Guns a while back, and I was like, oh shit, I haven't seen this in a long time, and then I played it for like an hour.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna play that because Wild Guns 3 is one of the ones I had picked out for the podcast.
Okay.
Because sci-fi western, sign me the fuck up.
Oh yeah, that's the greatest thing in Wild Gun. It's like you roll in there, and you don't get a whole lot Wild Guns in the beginning. It's like, oh yeah, cowboys on the box art, and then you start playing, and it's like, okay, so you're in kind of a western town. Like this is the first zone. You're in a western town, and you're like shooting up cowboys, and they're popping up, and it's kind of like a shooting gallery style game. And then suddenly a robot that's a rocket launcher pod drops down. You're like, what the fuck? So you blow up a couple of those, and then your boss is a giant robot cowboy.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Realize it's not a sport game, but if being a cowboy was a sport game, this would be the best one.
Right?
Anyway, yeah, we need to cover these games proper at some point. We need to cover Wild Guns proper at some point, or Wild Guns 3, I don't care.
Let's just do a whole Wild Guns episode.
Like, I mean, there's enough games. If we're going to do cowboy episodes, I want to do Sunset Riders, too.
I think that's literally 2 of the games we had slated for it.
Yeah, because it's, again, just what the hell is going on. It's super fun. Anyhow, I guess that's a wrap up there. There's no more other than I forgot to play golf.
You didn't miss anything.
Oh, well, thanks. Nah, it's golf. Whatever. We'll do a quick, have a quick break, and we'll come back and tie this all up. Well, that includes our special Corona Edition NES, Super NES Online Sports Rapid Fire episode. I would say if you have Switch Online already, roll in and get frustrated at some of these games just for the sake of it, just so you can appreciate better games that came out later. Wii Sports, Mario Strikers, Mario Tennis on the N64. It's always fun to see where a lot of these like sports titles came from and what their original, what their origins were on older, inferior hardware was. And then it's fun to be amazed at how well they sold.
Yeah.
Because it's all we had.
Even to like today, you mentioned that people are still running Tecmo Bowl tournaments.
Yeah. And I didn't know that for a long time. I found that out a couple of years ago, and I was like, holy crap, really?
Yeah, that's still amazing to me. I love it.
And, every year you can go and download the current roster for Tecmo Super Bowl.
I like Tecmo Bowl enough on occasion. I might just take a peek at that.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely going to do that because, my chosen team was kind of garbage in 1991.
You want to see how far they've come?
Oh, I know how far they've come. That's why I want the modern roster.
I wanted to do a quick giveaway for the people who don't have Switch Online, because some people have been hesitant. Maybe you just had no need to play your games online, or maybe you just didn't want to drop the $20. But I'll be putting up a sweepstakes here for 1 year of Switch Online. Obviously, the only platform it's available on is Switch, so if you wanted a year of Switch Online for Xbox or PC, I'm real sorry.
You have critically failed to understand the concept.
The concept of Switch Online. But we'll be posting that up, and that'll be good luck to anybody who puts on that, and for the people who do listen in and get on that sweepstake, I want to thank you in advance for the support. But until next time, I guess we'll be saying goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.